Alrighty. Welcome, Album Book Club viewers. We just want to start this off by saying a huge thank you to Bug Moment for joining us. We're going to be interviewing them, and it should be hopefully a great way to start off what's to come for season 2. So I want to start off with, I think, the biggest question that's been on most of our minds, which is why the name Bug Moment? Where did it come from? Why'd you choose it?
So Gray and I, we started as like a 2-piece, and we're just like making music for fun. And we had all this music ready to release, but we didn't have a name. And we were like both into bugs, so we're like looking for bug-related names, and they're all taken. And I just said, "That's a Bug Moment," and Gray really liked it, and then we kept it.
It's actually kind of really cool. A lot of really good names just kind of come from, oh yeah, we like it.
I just thought it was really funny. I thought it was like such a defeated, like, oh shit, there's no good names. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard though. I like that.
It's a certified bug moment for sure.
Yeah.
What brought the band together? What started everything?
So Jazz and I met in high school. We were in like a credit recovery thing because we were both like failing out of school. And then we graduated in 2019. So that was right before COVID started. And then I had already been making music like on my own. And then during COVID, Jazz and I were hanging out, which I guess we probably shouldn't have been, but we did. And then I was just like making a bunch of shit, and I didn't like the way my voice sounded at the time, so I wanted like someone who had a pretty voice to do it, and Jasmine has a pretty voice, so I just had her like sing a lot of the parts that I had written. And then we started making more music, and then she was writing her own stuff for it, and then we kind of ended up with 8 songs. And then like I knew Aiden through a friend, so I wasn't just leaving out Eli and Aiden. I knew Aiden from a friend, so then when Jasmine and I put out an EP, we met Aiden again because we lost contact during COVID kinda, and then we met Eli after one of our shows because Eli was a concert photographer, and we just kind of scooped his ass up and then made him a bassist.
Also, the scooping process was not so simple because they kind of honey potted me into the band because they asked me to fill in for a couple of shows, and I was like super hardline photographer, like trying to figure all that stuff out. And I was like, oh yeah, a few shows, I'll get some experience under my belt. Perhaps I'll develop a new understanding for the people on stage, not just behind the camera. And then like a couple shows turned into a couple more. And it got to a point where Jasmine had to tell me I was in the band because I just kept filling in. She was like, you're in the band. I was like, I guess I am.
And that's how we got our EP, which it is an EP, it's not an album. I know it's a long
Apple Music's
EP,
fault.
But it's an EP.
I stand by that in the review. I agree, but I like it.
I gotta defend myself for a second. Apple Music listed as an album, but I did mention that it was the debut album and that it's in a gray area. I thought it was an EP with the length and the songs, but the songs do technically make album requirement.
So why choose emo adjacent as a genre? What specifically brought you to that?
I like emo. That's pretty much. We can't call it emo directly because people will be like, "Oh, that's not real emo." So we're right next to it, I like clinging on to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I don't know. I think it sounds funny, and also it's like, yeah, it's not like straight up like emo music. We're not like screaming the whole time, and we're not like doing tapping the whole time. So it's not emo.
Yeah, because I was online, I was like looking a little bit into you guys before listening to the album, and I saw like one of the first things that popped up on Google was like Bug Moment, like emo adjacent. I was like, what the hell is emo adjacent? But no, that's great. Thank you guys.
Thinking of which, yeah, you guys said tapping, and I mentioned like Yvette Young in the podcast. I was kind of wondering what your guys' inspirations were as far as like instrumentation goes, and who you looked up to and wanted to make music sounding like.
like I would say for throughout the whole band, like we all kind of have like a shared sense of like enjoyment for My Chemical Romance, and that's I feel like where we get like the emo stuff from. And then it really just branches out. Gray's really into like hyper pop stuff, but I personally like I'm into like that like early 2000s emo, like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, like new stuff like Sweet Pill, Pool Kids. So mainly just the emo genre and like Coheed and stuff.
I was really inspired by hyperpop music starting out. Like our EP is like hyperpop for the most part. That's why like a lot of that like sound is on the album sometimes. But we're kind of swapped after we became a band. Before it was just a two-piece and we were just making like pop music with like hyperpop inspired stuff. But then when we had Eli join and Aiden join, we wanted to kind of like have a shared sound. So it's now like kind of emo adjacent.
I like at least when we started I was more into like indie stuff like Alex G. Over time I'm more into like the stuff Aiden likes and hyperpop. I like all of it.
So I know you guys have mentioned like hyperpop. So what specific like hyperpop artists influenced you?
I'm really into Underscores. She's like my favorite one. Like obsessed with Underscores. I like 8485. She's really good. Aiden, you like 8485. And like Fraxiom is like amazing too. She's really great.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Eli. It looked like you were about to say something.
You're good. As it pertains to influences for me, I actually was like, I hated hyperpop before I joined the band. My dad was like super hardline salsa and reggae and R&B guy growing up. So like when I've only been playing bass for around 3 years, and when I was like teaching myself actively, and when I joined the band, I only like the bass lines I was learning was like D'Angelo, Wolfpack, Jamiroquai, like very like bouncy, like funk oriented bass lines. But I'm learning on the job as it pertains to the genre of music that we're playing. Aiden, Gray, and Jasmine have been super helpful in like introducing me more to it, because we did all have the common interest of like the MyChem stuff, like the Holy Trinity, MyChem, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco way back in the day. But like they put me on some real good stuff, and right now I'm so far up Michael Sarah Palin's ass, it's ridiculous. I listen to their entire discography like 4 times a day. It's real bad, but it's fun. We're having a good time.
That's great.
Along the lines of like influences for like the sound around, I guess, just the music in general, and especially this album, I noticed that the vocals, like while they maintained a pretty consistent sound across the album, certain songs reminded me of different artists. So like there were certain songs where I got like Faye Webster vibes on the vocals, and there were other songs where I got like Silver Sun Pickup vibes. So where do you, Jasmine, draw the draw most of your vocal influence, or like what inspires your sound?
I'm not really. I feel like I've been like compared to the Cranberries a lot, or like Mitski, and I don't really have a lot of singing experience prior, so I feel like over time I've just like have been trying to find my own sound. But Faye Webster, very good compliment.
Is there like a overall story to the Flying Toad Circus, or is it just like a generalized theme?
I'd say it's just a theme. The name came about Gray like 2 years ago when we first met, before we even discussed like being in a band together. Gray wanted to make an album called The Flying Toad Circus, and eventually when we actually started the band, I'm like, that's got to be the name, and so we just kind of rolled with it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think that like I could probably like come up with a story though.
Speaking a little bit more about your guys' sound, I had this is a little bit more of a personal question. I had a little bit of confusion surrounding the last song on the album. I kind of wanted to know where it came from, because it really surprised me out of nowhere. You know, I shed a single tear at the end of song before it, and I'm like, wow, this album's so beautiful, and I get hit with a scary movie out of nowhere.
All right, so I found this like sound of a black hole, like they've and we use that as like a sample. I was like, what if we like wrote a song like over it, you know? And then it just started sounding really scary. And I don't know what the vision was, but I don't know. I like it.
I really like that song too, which is kind of silly. I liked your review of it though, because it is like a big pivot, and
Yeah,
it,
you
like,
just kind of walk into a horror movie. It's
yeah. I think we were like, I would agree with your review, honestly, that Mosquito probably would have been like a better like conclusion to the whole album. But I think at the time we were just wanted to be like, I don't know, I wanted like something that like left you feel horrible after the album.
Hell yeah.
And like, because I don't think there's a lot of albums that I listen to where like the last song is like, damn, that sucks. Like that makes me feel terrible. So I don't know. It was like a little bit like, we're unique. But I get that it probably isn't the greatest listener experience. Yeah.
But I forget who exactly said it, but it was the gentleman on the right with the glasses.
Me?
Steven?
Myron.
Oh,
That said that it like so you were trying to extract meaning from it, and it felt I think it was you, who like got like something thematic from it, and like
yeah, it kind of felt like an ending. I was trying to grasp at straws, and I was like, this could just be like the death of a person. This could be the explosion at the end of the carnival. Something went terribly wrong here, and you have walked into a horror show right at the end. So that was kind of like the thematic thing I was running with.
I appreciated that interpretation a lot, because that song to me does feel like the corruption of something, and like something coming in a certain way and not leaving that way at all. Like essentially changing form by the end of that song. I don't even know if that was the intention.
I mean, yeah, kind of. That was like the whole like vibe I was kind of going for. Like that was kind of what I extrapolated from it.
We kind of tried to like nod to that in our music video, because the music video was supposed to like end. So it ends where like for like Lagoon and Carousel. The whole thing is that we're like looking for the Flying Toad Circus, and we're on this adventure, and then like we all die at the end. And like we were going to like have it where like that song plays at the end to like show that like, oh, we're all like taken over by whatever was going on or whatever. But yeah, so we tried to play around with it, but that video took so long to do that we never were able to like fully finish the thing.
That is a valid question. Who did the album art? Because it's phenomenal.
Hey!
I don't know if I'm doing that.
Do you guys have like a poster of that? Because I want to see it in like a physical in front of my face, because I bet it looks a lot better than it does on my shitty little iPhone.
I think it's like this big.
I have the painting.
Ooh,
I can grab it.
hell yeah.
Like, we should get that shit on deck.
Yeah, Jasmine did that. She's done some really sick paintings before. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh hell
that's
yeah!
sick.
That looks sick as hell.
It's backwards. But yeah.
So did the painting come before the album, or the album before the painting?
Album first.
Album first. And I did want to ask, did you guys do production all on your own, or did you seek out a third party, or?
The ghost member.
I can answer that. So I fancy myself the producer of our music. But we did get Eli's cousin Sterling to help us like engineer this album. So we like wrote all the music alone, produced a lot of it alone, but then brought the tracks to Sterling, and then sometimes we just did like a whole redo with Sterling. And he is a drummer and producer for this band called Moonglow, which is like the coolest fucking like city pop band in Milwaukee. Well, and it's just like in general. But yeah, he's like an amazing like producer, engineer. So he like really like polished off the album and made it all like sound cohesive, because that's kind of what we wanted, as opposed to our EP, which was a little bit more just like, here's a bunch of songs.
You guys haven't been around for too long, but it seems like you guys have great band chemistry. It comes through on the album, and it seemed to come through this. Did it all kind of come naturally, or did you guys bump heads at all along the way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the time it's butting heads, but like I feel like that like really drives us to like do as good as possible, because it's like if everything's just all good and dandy, then like I feel like you're not really trying hard enough. So like we definitely are pushing each other a lot of the times and like questioning each other's like decisions with like, especially with when we were recording, we were like, there's a bunch of times where it's like, oh, maybe try this, maybe try that. Like I think we all give a lot of like, you know, it's very interactive, and it's not just like letting somebody do their own thing. It's very much like has a say on everybody's parts and stuff, which is cool.
One thing I'll also say is that behind the scenes, these are like genuinely my friends. Like I'm not just in a band with these people. Like I genuinely like heavily fuck with everybody in this band, and I think the feeling is very mutual. So that I think honestly makes it easier to butt heads a lot of the time, because we don't have to like pussyfoot around anything, since we all like we vibe on a non-music tip very often. So like it makes it like, if you're like really good friends with people, you don't really have to be like, you don't have to walk on eggshells around like ideas. So it does make it easier to butt heads, but I think that's also why it's like fun, because it's really cool to play on stage with these folks. And also like we used to meet up pretty regularly to play like Lord of the Rings Conquest and Halo Reach against each other and shit. Like that's fun. Like all music aside, I'd still be hanging out with these people if we weren't making music together.
And I think like another thing with that too is like Aiden, I don't know if we said this before, Aiden plays drums, I play guitar, Jasmine sings, Eli plays bass, but that's not necessarily like the whole like lineup. Like Aiden plays guitar like high key, like kind of better than me. So Aiden, like, sure he does drums, but that's not his only job. And sure, like Eli plays bass, that's not his only job. Jasmine sings, that's not her only job. So I think like that also like happens when we like butt heads, because we all got like ideas for other shit too.
Like Jasmine wrote the guitar for Germ and Little Frog, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And so like basically made all those songs. I did the like guitar part for the intro of Carousel, and did like the solo at the end of Teeth. So it's all like we all are like just kind of swapping stuff back around. Gray did the drums for Face Paint and like all the hyperpop songs. So it's not just like, oh, this is where you like that's your place in the band. Like it's very fluid.
So this is, I guess, just more like a general question. Do you guys have like any like moments or like developments in your time together that you can pinpoint as being like pivotal to your chemistry as a group, or like your sound in general? There's anything that's like profoundly affected you guys in your I guess in your course of being in a band together and making music?
I feel like we're in one of those periods right now, and it's very exciting. Like if I may gas us up a little bit, our next EP is like the marriage of a lot of ideas that we had going into making the last album, but it feels a lot more complete now. And that's like, we're not necessarily like too far along the process of getting all like, you know, set in stone, but from what I'm hearing, I'm so excited to play it live. I'm so excited to see people's reactions. I think we're at one of those points now where we're kind of like coming into our own, because the process of writing the last album, we're learning a lot as we were going, and I feel like we have a better idea of what we want now, and like what niche we want to carve for ourselves and what we want to put out, and that's like super exciting.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
that is a great point, actually. Like finding that niche in your sound and like making your mark is very important. So that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to hearing more from you guys and being able to listen and of course react to what you guys have out next.
Honestly, if we do a listening party, be it public or private, I would like you guys to be there. So let this be the extension of the invitation, because there's like a lot of times it'll be like Gray, Aiden, or Jasmine coming with the idea for the song, and I'll be like hearing it for the first time, and I know how I reacted, and I'm so curious because like I know them a lot better than most people, obviously. So like I reckon a lot of people will be surprised by the stuff that we're making, which is super cool, and I'd like to see that happen in real time if possible. So if we do schedule something, you guys should definitely come.
Oh yeah,
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this new shit does not sound like our album.
Personally, like a turning point for me for the album, this is like back to like this is different from what they were saying, but like when me and Gray recorded Carousel, I felt like that was like a big moment for like me and Gray for like the album, because like it was like 5 a.m. I just got done like taking an exam. Gray was up for some reason. I was like, all right, we gotta start the album, and we gotta make like an intro track and make it have like so we like sat there and watched a bunch of like videos of like old guys playing with like music boxes, like, and that's how we got the intro video, is some old guy, and that like wind noise, that's like the guy breathing into the mic. That Gray like messed with it for a bit and made it sound not like some old guy fidgeting with like a carousel toy box thing. And then like we wrote basically the whole song, and it was like what we were writing there, and then like a combination of another song that Gray was writing before, and that was the chorus. So I felt like that was like the most collaborative thing that me and Gray worked on at the time, and it just felt like, okay, we can make music together where it's not just like somebody comes with an idea. It's like we can sit down, write something, and like have something like fleshed out, which was cool.
That's awesome. Wow, that's a very it's definitely like a profound moment, like knowing that you have that chemistry. We've had Logan and I have had moments together where we just kind of sit down, and whether we're jamming or we kind of like write something on our own, and it just I mean, we're friends of course outside of this, but yeah, that's just a great moment. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it kind of like brings you closer to that person in a way. So it's,
for sure,
it's a beautiful
like,
moment.
But I want to give a huge thank you to you guys, not only for helping us reach like 100 subscribers this week with the shouts out on the story, and obviously with the amazing music that we could talk about and produce a video about. Big thank you to Bug Moment. Obviously,
Thank you guys.
I don't think we can truly say that enough, especially because not everyone is willing to give up time, especially to a bunch of idiots who are fresh out of school trying to make content.
I was so excited when you guys like post that you guys were doing a review, because like the biggest thing that like y'all's like review has like done for me personally is like having a genuinely unbiased reaction to something that I've made, where it's not just like a friend coming up to me or somebody who's like at a show and is like, oh, that was like cool, like even if like I have a friend who tells me like, oh, maybe not this, like this was like genuinely like no connection whatsoever, and it was like an hour and 50 minutes long, and like you guys had some really good points. And like I remember, like I'm trying to find it right now, but in our conversations when we were like our group text, like we were just like, damn, these guys are fucking funny.
We appreciate that. That is the goal. Is obviously music reviewers first, comedians second. Sometimes it hits. Most of the time it doesn't. But we're glad to see someone enjoy something we've put out.
Oh, yeah.
Jazz and I were listening to it when we were driving to Chicago the other night to go see Hot Mulligan, and we were like talking to you while you were like listening to your review. We're like, no, you don't understand, you don't get this. But it was really sweet, and I've never like Aiden said, never had like an unbiased, like someone that's not connected to me, like give their opinions on art that I've made before. And I know like art is subjective or whatever, but like it was like at sometimes I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. They like it. And other times I'm like, fuck you guys. You know?
That's the goal. Is hopefully by the end of it, you don't come out saying "fuck you." Hopefully, it's like I'll get a beer with them, but don't talk to me for a good bit.
No, there's nothing I was like, that's objectively wrong. I was like, that's fair. It's a little whack.
Yeah.
That's the sucky part we have too. Is obviously coming to talk to people where you've been like, yeah, this song was a 5 out of 10. Where it's like objectively sitting here face to face, you can be like, they're gonna paint me as an asshole, but I did that first, so I hold the power here. We are gonna end this by asking you guys for an album, but I don't want to throw you on spot at the moment. So if you guys want to think of an album to suggest for us to review on the podcast, get those gears a turning.
I was gonna suggest Hekra album. But,
New Devils would be fucking. That would be really good.
Honestly, that's yeah.
All right, I agree.
I vote for that as well. So the album is "The Devil Faces of My Old Friends Beneath Me" by Hekra.
Well, hell yeah. Thank you guys for taking time. I know it's kind of like a, Tuesday night, so it's not always the busiest night, but I know it was a struggle for us to all get together, so I can't imagine how hard it was for you guys. Appreciate this so much.
Can you guys go around again and tell me each of your names?
I'm Steven. I just want to say thank you one more time. Thank you, Bug Moment.
I'm Connor. Thank you, Bug Moment.
I'm Carson. Thank you, Bug Moment.
And then I'm Logan. Thank you, Bug Moment. We had to bring it full circle.
Yeah. Thank you, Album Book Club.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Get ready for season 2.